Careers dealing with science.
Morning. I'm JD, and I am a commercial litigator. That's a type of lawyer. I represent companies and homeowners with different types of lawsuits. And what I'm going to present to you today is how science affects even my job. I was a student of Ms. Allen and Ms. Clay. I was a student of Mr. H at that time, and they can both tell you that I was born to be a lawyer. I was always the smart kid in class, and when I mean smart, I don't mean A's. I mean the other type of smart. And to make a long story short, I always felt that I don't need to do good at science. Science is not me. If I wanted to be good at science, I would be a doctor. I wouldn't need to be a lawyer. Being a lawyer now for the past 5 years and representing thousands of homeowners in different types of cases like these and Chinese rival cases, I've learned that science does play a part in my career. I'm going to start off by showing you a brief part of the presentation I just finished. A 3-week-long trial on Chinese drywall. I want to explain to you what Chinese drywall is and how it affected people's homes and people's lives. In 2010, when I started my career, Jeff and Elisa Roger walked into my office and they started to describe different things that were happening to their homes. They purchased their home in July of 2008. It was their first home, it was their dream home. Shortly after moving in, they started smelling this really weird smell that they couldn't describe. And their friends would come into their house and be like, wow guys, your house really smells. But it smells bad. It smells like rotten egg. And no one wants to hear that their house smells. And then over time, their TVs started breaking and their appliances started breaking. And they didn't know what was going on. So they came into my office and they said, listen, we don't know what's wrong with our house, but this is not something normal. We've heard people talk about Chinese drywall. We don't know what it is, but we know that your firm is representing homeowners. So we sent our scientists in to inspect their house. And this is their house when we first started looking at it. It's a beautiful 4,000 square foot home in Coral Gables. All the fixtures you can think of, marble floors, high-end bathrooms, really a dream home, a nicer home than I could ever dream about. And as we started to inspect their home, we determined, oh my God, their house has Chinese drywall. And the result of Chinese drywall is this. In order to fix their home, we had to tear it apart completely. Every wall, every electrical fixture, all the drywall, all the appliances. This is drywall piled to the second floor of their home. That's their living room, their family room. That's not supposed to know. Here we go. That's their kitchen. Now you guys are probably wondering, what does this have to do with chemistry? What are these pictures that JD showed me? All of this wouldn't have happened if this company would have just tested their board for sulfur. One simple test would have saved all these homes, would have saved thousands upon thousands of homes. Now, the trial that we just finished right now, the jury came back and gave us $1.2 million to fix this home. They're going to come back and give punitive damages to punish the company for not testing the product. All of this because of one test that could have been done, one test for sulfur. The science of chemistry is utilized in many different professions. Most notably, and as you guys probably know, chemistry is used by doctors, pharmacists, scientists, and by your teachers, like Ms. Lorenzo, when they need to teach you. Surprisingly, chemistry is used, and rather often, in the practice of law, by lawyers like myself. In fact, there are chemists that become lawyers because there is a growing need for lawyers that have specialized scientific backgrounds. I don't know much about chemistry, and I didn't know much about it until I started these Chinese drywall cases. But I can tell you now that the effects of all this sulfur off-gassing has taught me so much about the importance of teachers like Mrs. Lorenzo and you guys paying attention to what she's going to teach you, because it will affect your day-to-day life. You look around this room, and there's different materials that are all composed of chemical formulas, things that Ms. Lorenzo been a teacher in her classroom. Drywall itself, for those that don't know what drywall is, it's the product that you paint on. It's the interior walls of your classrooms, of your homes, and most of them are produced correctly. They're produced the way that they need to be done. Because there are scientists that work for these companies in quality control departments to ensure that everyone is protected, to make sure that when you guys live in a home, your home is safe, to make sure that when you guys drive in a car, your cars are safe, to make sure that the pencils that you write on are safe, to make sure that the computers that you use are not going to make you sick. All of that is done by scientists. Let me just 1 second, I'm going a little faster than I had planned. What I have here is a chronology of the different events that happened in this case. And these are the type of boards that us lawyers send out to create. And they describe to the jury how, again, one simple test that was not done because the company decided to put profits over people. One test and the effect of how, by failing to do that original test in September of 2005, triggered all these events. And you'll notice some of the dates even go through today. So you'll have November 13, 2006. That was exactly 7 years ago. 7 years ago, the manufacturer of these boards retained a toxicologist and a chemist by the name of Dr. Go. And if you don't think scientists and chemists make money nowadays, in trial, I brought out, Dr. Go has been paid $3 million for his services in this case. That's a chemist. That's not a lawyer. That's not a doctor. That's someone who was hired by this company to test the materials, who has done so for the last couple of years, simple air testing. There's a ton of different fields within science that affect your day-to-day life. What you see laid out here, these are silver components, silver. If you open it, you can see the inside, how it's still silver colored. These were inside my client's house, not for 8 years, not for 15 years, 18 months. It took 18 months for the sulfur within that board to come out and to attack these silver components. Now you're probably wondering, how is it that the sulfur comes out and attacks these boards? I'm not a chemist, so I'm going to let a chemist.
So through chemical compounds that are released through the air, what happens is that the actual chemical of the sulfur is going to join with the actual air particles in the air. Okay, so therefore these are all gas emissions that are joined together and us that we're breathing in at home. That means that this family every day was breathing in pure sulfur.
In addition to breathing it in, sulfur is not an element that floats naturally in the air. It's dependent on something else. And it tries to find whatever other volatile compound. And mind you, these are all things that I learned from chemists that we hired. I would have been great had I listened to Mr. A and you guys listened to Mrs. Lorenzo. Maybe I would have had to pay that chemist hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach me something that I could have learned right here. But I learned it through my chemist, and she explained to me how sulfur requires another compound to flow freely in an help me out here. Anaerobic? In an anaerobic stage. Maybe you guys know that. Maybe have you guys gotten to that yet? Okay. Well, you'll get to it. You promised me that you'll get to it later on this year. So it clings on to the hydrogen in the air. And as all of you know, especially the girls, there's a lot of humidity in South Florida. And that's just H2O. It's H2O in a gas form. The sulfur joins on with that H2O and forms what's called hydrogen sulfide. Again, this is science built into the daily practice of an attorney now. That is what creates the smell. But the two compounds don't like each other. So it tries to find another compound that it prefers, and those are metals. So this is pure silver. This is not some knockoff from Navarro or anything like that. This is Real silver, these are wedding gifts that were given to my client. When the sulfur that was in the air reached the silver components, it cleaved to the silver and formed silver sulfides. It cleaved to the copper in the house and formed copper sulfides. Now, luckily for my clients, we were able to find yet again another scientist, an engineer, to come into the house and to explain to them, this is how we fix it. And this engineer came in, helped them remove all the drywall, helped them clean their home, again, another scientist, and gave them the ability to move back in and live in their home. These are yet another type of example where how science affects your daily practice, even if you're not a scientist. And there are other types of lawyers that don't do what I do that are still affected by science. Maybe you guys have heard of patents before. There's a United States Patent Office, which is, again, partly run by attorneys. And these are scientists, pharmaceutical companies, the futurists. Because really, this is, you guys are going to be responsible for finding cures to cancer, finding cures to AIDS, finding cures to all these types of diseases that my generation hasn't been able to. That's all going to fall on your shoulders. And it's going to be lawyers like me, lawyers like U.S. patent lawyers, who are going to help you guys and create those patents, protect yourselves, insulate yourselves from liability, and be able to continue to move forward. And that's pretty much what I've got. Does anybody have any questions? No? Go ahead. The silver that you see here, the black coating that you see is actually a silver sulfide that's formed on top. And a lot of times you'll see your parents clean the sulfur or clean silver that tarnishes. This won't come off. This is not a protective layer that tarnish creates. This is actually embedded into the silver. That's why in the houses we can't go in and just clean the copper lines. Cleaning the lines is not going to do anything. The sulfur actually begins to eat away from the outside and from the inside. So there's no way of repairing it. Other silver components in your home, for example, your smoke detectors, your fire detectors, safety devices that are meant to protect you. All of that is eaten away by these sulfur gases. All of which could have been simply avoided by having a scientist on staff, these manufacturing plants, to test these products before they go into people's homes. Is it like a fungus? That's a really good question. Funny enough, to this day, we don't know what causes this problem. Why? Because the manufacturer of this product destroyed the evidence. We don't know if it's from the mine where the sulfur comes from where the gypsum comes from, I'm sorry. Drywall is made from a natural product. It's mine. Whenever you see off of I-75, those big lakes and the big trucks that are digging out the materials, what they're digging out there is gypsum limestone materials to make drywall, to make construction materials. And all that needs to be tested before it's put in. So in answer to your question, I would love to know if it's a fungus. I would love to know if it was a cause of the water they put in. Maybe it was well water in China. Those are answers that we don't have because unfortunately companies like the manufacturer of this product put profits over people and destroyed it in order to cover their tracks. Anyone else? They fixed the house. It cost over $1 million to fix the house. But yeah. What was that? Yeah, we sued. The manufacturer of this product is a company called Canal. It's a German company. It's owned by a German family. They're the 14th richest family in the world. They're a multi-billion-dollar family. And they could have solved all of this by doing a simple test that cost a couple $100. When they found that the product was defective, they could have come in and taken it out of my client's house before my clients moved in, when they knew that it was defective, and they didn't. Because again, they put profits over people. And companies are not allowed to do that. And it's our responsibility as lawyers to protect the American consumers. It's your responsibility as a student to learn as much as you can in every field. Because you'll be surprised the day of tomorrow how what you learn here will affect your practice, either as a a doctor, as an engineer, as a lawyer. What happened? 21 months. It wasn't a regular construction project. They had to have engineers come in, they had to test the product, they had to rip everything down. Everything. Kitchens, bathrooms, everything in the house was, you saw the picture, had to be gutted. Then afterwards, it had to be micro-cleaned, again, by another scientist, to make sure that the particulates in the air wouldn't come back to affect these homeowners. My clients wanted to have children. They didn't want to have the fear of, oh my God, what is my kid going to breathe in when she sleeps in her crib? Oh my God, what is this going to do to us in the long term? And those are, again, things that, I'll give you this example. As a lawyer, and as a lawyer in these type of cases when they started, I was approached by the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the EPA, and the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. These are all governmental agencies that came to us as lawyers and asked, this is a problem. We know that people are suffering from nosebleeds and headaches and rashes. We don't know what's causing it. Share the information with us. Share what the scientists that you're paying are learning so that we can go back and warn the American public and so that we can teach future generations to be cautious, to make sure that they don't create a product that causes this. No one's saying that a company intentionally went out and said, I want to hurt George Lorenzo's client. I don't think they did that. But they had a chance to fix it, and they did. And those are the type of things that as lawyers, we hire chemists and other experts to come out and explain to the future, explain to the American public, explain to Consumer Product Safety Commission, the Center for Disease Control, and the EPA. Anyone else? The drywall itself, even though the company that manufactures it is a German company, they went to China and they built a plant in China. And they manufactured the drywall itself in China. So, throughout the course of the litigation, all the different types of cases, we've just nicknamed it Chinese drywall, but really what it is defective drywall. Anyone else? No? What was that? Sorry. Yes. Yeah, as soon as my clients found out that there was the possibility of this affecting their health, they moved out. And they had to pay rent somewhere else. They had to continue to pay their mortgage in this house because banks don't, it's not their responsibility. You signed a mortgage and you're still responsible for it. So my clients had to maintain this house, pay the mortgage in this house, pay the rent in another apartment while they fix this house, all on their own. Ready? No one else? Okay. Well, I want to turn the mic over then to Mr. Acosta. good morning. I don't hear you guys. All right. My name is Mr. Acosta, J.P. Acosta. 25 years old. I am a project manager for a construction company, so I'm on the other side of the fence that Mr. Lorenzo was talking about. No, I have not installed Chinese drywall, nor will I. You guys hear me without the mic or no? All right, so I also went to Catholic school. I went to St. John del Paso in Hialeah. After that, I went to PACE and then FIU. Graduated with a bachelor's in construction management, and here I am today. I'm making buildings. I'm building a bunch of stuff all over Miami and other states. Question for you guys: what is construction? Somebody, anybody? You, sir. I'm sorry?
Build something, start it up.
Build what?
Building.
Okay. And what does that encompass? What does that mean? How do you build a building? Okay, very good. What is part of it? What is inside the building? Very good answer, actually. Anybody else? You, sir, with a Miami Heat shirt. Okay, very similar to what the gentleman said. All right. Yes. Yes. Okay. So, going back to chemistry, my junior year in high school, I took honors chemistry. I loved it. My senior year, I took AP chemistry, and then my freshman year of college, I took chemistry again. How has this affected me in construction? And we could see that from the lawyer's standpoint. Everything I install, everything I build is made of atoms, obviously. You guys are sitting on atoms right now. Your lunchboxes are on atoms. Why is that? That in construction, I need to know chemistry. Can anybody take a stab at that? Yes, sir? Yes and no, but composition-wise, why is that? Yes, sir. Ninja Turtle. Sure, absolutely. So, you guys know the thorn that you guys are standing on, or sitting rather. You know what it's made out of. You, sir, again. That's not marble. Now you guys are paying a lot more tuition. Yes, sir. I'm sorry? I can't hear you, brother. It is tile, but it's not ceramic or porcelain, of which there's a difference. I'll go into that in a second. Cameraman.
Nylon?
Sorry?
Nylon?
Very close. Most people call it linoleum, even though it's not. Everybody I talk to thinks it's linoleum. It's not. Linoleum is made out of a different composition. This is called VCT. It's called vinyl composition tile. It has a lot of the particles that are in drywall. Not Chinese drywall, American made. Their binders, it's a bunch of, again, this is made in a lab. This is not made in a backyard or a garage. It is vinyl mixed in with calcium and chipboard to make your tile. Now, to install it is a completely different chemistry, and I'll go into that in a second. What else about buildings? What is the main component of a structure? Yes, sir. I'm sorry? It's foundation. Yeah. And what is that foundation made out of? Go ahead, go ahead. No. Yes, sir. Excellent. What is cement? Come on, think of your brains, people. Go ahead. Okay, very good. Cement, or not cement. By the way, cement does not have rocks or gravel. That is concrete. Concrete is basically cement with an additive, which is your gravel, your rocks, all that good stuff. All right, so cement, also a chemical reaction. You guys know when you pour cement, it gets extremely hot. Yes or no? Yes, okay. What type of reaction is this? Have they gone into this, Ms. Miranda? What type of cement, what type of reaction happens when it expels heat? Not yet? Okay. Well, go ahead, tell me. I'm sorry? It is a chemical reaction, but if you guys will go into this later on with Ms. Miranda, it is an exothermic reaction. That means when this reaction occurs, heat is expelled. When you pour concrete, and this is, it's very technical. When you pour concrete, you know how many days it takes to cure? Throw a number on it. Yes, sir. You are good. Did you guess that or did you get it? Okay, it is 28 days. Alright, so listen up, guys. When you pour concrete, the concrete under the ECT, it takes 28 days to cure. It doesn't mean that you gotta wait 28 days to walk on it, but it will take 28 days to cure on a surface level. You guys know what the Hoover Dam is? Do you know when it was built? Me neither, but a long time ago. So, there in the 20s or something like that, right? Okay. The Hoover Dam still has concrete that is curing, and it is going to be a century old in a couple of years. And this has to do with the amount of concrete in it, obviously. It is not 4 inches thick as the stuff under your feet. It is feet wide. I mean, I don't even know. I've never seen plants with it, so I don't know. But they run pipes through that concrete filled with water that they built almost 100 years ago, and they're still flowing water. They do what? Does anybody have an idea? Remember I said exothermic. Yes, sir. I'm sorry? Not these pipes, but it does create energy, and that's water energy. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you need water flowing through this concrete to cool it off. If not, it can explode. Not as an explosion, like boom, but it will crack the cement, and the Hoover Dam will fail, and people will die. Okay, it will flood places. So these are all things that you have to, as a scientist and in chemistry. Me, I'm not a scientist or a chemist. I love it, but I'm not one. So, but you need to know these things. It puts people's lives in danger. Going back to concrete, when I install this flooring that you guys are sitting on right now, there's various steps I must take, tests I have to perform before I can install it because of moisture in concrete. Obviously, to mix concrete, you need water, which is, somebody give me the formula for water. Okay, which is, how do you say the actual name of it? I hear you mumbling. Yes, sir. Correct, which is dihydrogen monoxide. Nobody calls it that, everyone calls it H2O, but it is dihydrogen monoxide. When you mix this stuff with concrete, water has to go somewhere. Where's it going to go? I heard up. Someone said up. Oh, okay. No problem. So, in Florida, actually anywhere in the country and the world, when you pour a slab, which is the floor you're sitting on the first floor, it must have a vapor barrier. What does that do? And what is vapor? Yes, sir. Sorry? Okay. What's vapor? I know you guys have gone through states of, okay. Yes, sir.
Water and gas.
Excellent. Good job. So, this water is coming from where? Why do we need a vapor barrier under a first floor of a building? Yes, sir. No. Yes, sir. Correct. Now, what that means is under this floor, there's a vapor barrier. It's a piece of plastic. It's not a big deal. Actually, this whole building probably doesn't even exist anymore. rotted away. What it does is, in the ground, there is water. We have a water table. We have aquifers. Anybody know, by any chance, what our aquifer is called? Yes, sir. Yes, very good. But what's the name of the one here in Miami? There's a key named after it. There's a big lighthouse on it. Biscayne Aquifer. That is our main source of drinking water and water for any purpose, actually, in this area that we live in. Now, Florida is so close to the ocean, and our elevation is so close that our water table is practically 3 feet down. What is this food of concrete and flooring more than that? Adhesive glue, which you use to stick the VCT to the floor, is not resistant to water. And I'll show you a couple of pictures of what happens when it meets water. So what do? We do a test called calcium chloride testing. Anybody know the formula of calcium chloride? Come on, you guys did compounds.
What's the symbol for calcium? What's the symbol for chlorine?
What's the formula? Somebody tell me the formula. I'm sorry? Correct, but you're missing denotation subscript numbers. Positive charge of calcium, what is it? It's a metal, right? Yes, no?
What group is it in? No.
2? Excellent. What does that mean? You guys learned about ions? Okay. One conversation at a time, guys. What is calcium? Yes, sir. What's its charge? Positive, correct? How about chlorine? Yes, sir. I'm sorry? No. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry? No, you guys are giving me atomic numbers here. Yes, sir. Negative. Yes, sir. Now, the charge is -1.
Group 17, what's its charge? It's going to gain one more electron, therefore -1.
Can I get no literally or the thing that you're on here? Right, you guys see that? You guys see that? Alright, so calcium's in group 2, you got positive 2, right? Chlorine, like I said, has -1. So we get calcium chloride, correct? Now, why am I showing you this? Calcium chloride, I have some here for you guys. It is a test which absorbs water. It comes in this sealed bag, and you have this little dish here. And I'll pass this around now, guys. Inside, there's a bunch of little, it's thicker than baking soda. What happens is, to do this test, it has to be on concrete. Put the little dish down on the floor, you cover it with this. It has to be airtight. What happens? Well, let me go back. Once it's airtight, we gotta leave it there for 3 days. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about What's going to happen from the concrete? What's coming from the concrete? Yes, and something else. Yes, sir. Moisture, which is water, correct? So the water combines with the calcium chloride, and I can't do the formula in my head, but this is going to get heavier than what it is today. And this gives me the amount, when I do the math and I weigh it gives me the amount of moisture that is coming from that slab. Again, I'm a construction builder, I'm a project manager, not a chemist, but I do have to do chemistry. If I do not do that, I'm going to be sued, probably by him. Why? Because the floors are going to fail. So that's pretty interesting. I'm going to pass this around. I'll drop it. That's calcium chloride. Another thing, I know you guys haven't touched on it yet, but you guys know what's an acid, more or less? Yes? No? All right. An acid, concrete also has a pH scale. Does anybody, I know you guys haven't done it, but does anybody know the pH scale, more or less? Yes, sir. Okay, if in concrete, we have to test the pH of the slab. It has to be somewhat neutral. Neutral is 7. If it gets too acidic, we have to do something to it in order to bring it to neutral. Or if it's basic, we got to do the same thing and bring it back to neutral. Yes, sir. Good job, yes, sir. Correct, absolutely. Again, and this is going to mess with my adhesive, my glue, and destroy it. And then I'll have to replace it and pay all the money to remove it, redo it, and spend more money on material labor and more testing and all that fun stuff. Now, you did a great job. I had a job down in Aventura. The slab was extremely basic. You know what I used to bring it back to neutrality? Soda, Coca-Cola. Not Coca-Cola because it gets sticky, but I used club soda. Club soda is very acidic. It has actually phosphoric acid in it. This, I spread it on, I basically mopped the floor with soda, brought it back to neutral state. I was able to install. If it was a acidic problem that I had in the slab, I would have to then use baking soda, which is sodium bicarbonate, which is a base, to bring that back to neutral to a neutral state in order to install. That's some of the things I've done with that. Are we running short on time here, Lorenzo? No. Okay. Okay, another thing with VCT. VCT in server rooms where you have a lot of expensive equipment, electric, computers, servers, things of that sort. There's a lot of static energy roaming around there. Can somebody tell me what static energy is? No? Some form of electricity, right? You guys fall asleep on me? Yes, sir. I'm sorry? That is static, yes. And that does happen in server rooms, and it could damage your equipment, and you gotta spend a lot of money to replace it. So what happens? There's a type of VCT called SDT. It's called static dissipative power. This stuff, when I install it, copper is used and it is grounded. Therefore, static electricity that is in that environment will be absorbed by that flooring and go into the ground. Therefore, you have safe electronic equipment. So again, why would I have to deal with chemistry and copper, electronic, things like that, in order to save money? Why is that? Why do I have to be, well, again, I'm not a scientist, but why is that important for you guys? Yes, sir. I'm sorry? True, but he has to look too, so somebody has to get sued. All right, guys. Another thing, besides my job, my hobby, I like to restore cars. Which one of you guys is into cars and all that good stuff? Alright, guys. Why do I need to know chemistry for a car? Anybody take a stab at it? Yes, sir. Very good. Yes. Rust. What is rust? What's a car made out of? Anybody? Metal. What's that metal? Yes, sir. I'm sorry? Carbon fiber is actually not metal. They are made of carbon fiber at times. Extremely expensive. Yes, sir, back there. Yeah, that's fine.
Alloy?
What's that?
Alloy?
An alloy? Yes, it is actually. But when that alloy is actually iron, which is called steel. Steel is an alloy which comes from iron. When you have rust on a car, and rusting is actually called ferric oxide, Fe2O3. What happens is when you have exposed steel or iron, it combines with water and oxygen and it performs rust. I'll show you a little bit of my car when I bought it back when I was in high school. There's various products out there. Okay. So it's a 66 Ford Mustang. It was a rust bucket. I shouldn't have bought it. But I did. I was in high school. I wanted a car. This thing was so full of rust, I basically built the whole car brand new. You see those floors there? You can't see very well. But there's no metal left there. That's pure rust. So how do I fix it? Anybody? Need some different people, man. Anybody? How about back there, you ladies? Yes. You do. You do, but sometimes they don't have replacement parts. What do? You either have it fabricated, or there is a chemical which will get rid of the rust. Yes, sir. You, sir, standing. You're absolutely right. That chemical is phosphoric acid, like I said. It's called ferric phosphate. What it does is it does a chemical reaction with the rust, which is Fe2O3, as I told you guys, and it gets rid of the rust. Again, I'm a construction guy. I like to build cars on the weekends. You need chemistry, so very important. Listen to Ms. Lorenzo. You guys will learn something in high school. Pay attention. High school saved me throughout college because of chemistry. If I would have not taken AP in high school, I would have not been good in college. So every little bit that you guys learn is extremely important. Everything you guys step on, walk on, is chemistry. Thank you guys. Yes, sir. Sorry? I did. I'm not done yet, though. I have some pictures somewhere. Yes, sir. Sorry? It has a 6-cylinder, unfortunately. It's a 200 cubic inch. That is science also. Yes, sir. No, I don't have enough time to finish mine, so just mine. Anybody else? Any questions about construction? Any? You guys familiar with Marlins Ballpark, the new one? There's a lot of chemistry there, a lot of cool stuff. There's actually, I built that job. There's a museum, super cool. It's going to be awesome. It's called Miami Science Museum. It's going to be downtown. Actually, that's some pictures. You want to put that up? You're going to have, and this is first come, first served. You guys have probably never seen this. Probably most of Miami and Hialeah have not seen these pictures. They're actually building a Gulfstream tank, and that's completely elevated. You're going to have all sorts of cool sharks, fish, and stuff like that swimming in it. But the concrete geometry is just amazing. Any other questions, meanwhile? This is probably going to be finished by the end of next year, 2014, maybe even 15. So you see, I mean, it's extremely hard to plan these things out. You had a question, sir? What's that? Gallon-wise? I don't remember. It's in the ceiling. It's a fish tank in the ceiling. So we'll shout out the things. But down here, this is a ceiling. Down here, you'll be standing, and this hole here, can't really see that well, but it's called an octopus. You can be walking down here, and you look up to the ceiling, like if you're looking here, and you're going to see sharks swimming around. It's a tube, it's a cylinder. It's going to be awesome. And then you can also go upstairs and be up there and look down and either see, obviously you're going to see the sharks and stuff like that, but you can see the people right through the fish tank that are standing below. It's going to be awesome. You guys got to check it out when it's done. That's going to be a long time away. Any other questions? Yes, sir. I'm sorry? Yeah, all the time. We get sued all the time, but we also sue, so it's fun. It's a little game. Yeah, we're actually suing a couple of people right now for defective products, kind of like the Chinese drywall, but it's actually flooring that has failed because it was made incorrectly in a hospital. Yeah, after. Anybody else? Yes. Sorry? The red parts? The red part? Like this here? Yeah, those are sleeves. It's not a big deal. But these green things are, like this yellow here, those are pipes that they bring in. They're going to bring in salt water from the bay, and inject them into this tank. And it's going to be continually flowing, so the fish are going to be happy. They're going to have fresh salt water all the time. It's all pipes for salt water and stuff like that. Yes, sir. Really? Who do you work for?